Good afternoon and welcome to Kyiv. Neil Sims.
Thank you.
From Boyden in San Francisco.
It's great.
Tech guru, recruiter to the grades.
Careful with all that.
And tonight, public speaker. So I think it'll be fantastic hearing it.
There is a mystique about Silicon Valley and the uniqueness of that ecosystem in terms of its ability to create and build and monetize technology companies. So a lot of what I'll be talking about tonight is the sort of history and the secret sauce of what makes Silicon Valley special for that purpose.
So you're based in San Francisco. You're dealing mainly with all the companies in Silicon Valley and the IT sector, apps, and the whole bit. What got you there? I'm curious to know about the guy and your history a bit. Like, what got you into it? Because nobody takes a straight road to that, unless you're a developer. It's obvious. But
Steve Jobs got me into it.
Okay.
My early career, I built and sold a services company early in my career and entered the executive search business after I had that exit. And I circumstantially, serendipitously met Steve and his team in the company that he created after he was exited from Apple Computer, a company called Next.
Yeah, Next was a beautiful logo.
Yeah, right.
Brilliant.
And so I helped Steve and that team build that company, and they were quite gracious to educate and enable me as an early search professional to understand how to serve their needs. And so that was sort of the genesis of my career in search and specifically in the technology industry. So I have Mr. Jobs to thank.
Did this influence you and your style based on that? Because they say everyone is affected by something that turns there.
Yeah, I think, the Valley, especially in those years, the sort of 80-20 rule applied there like it does everywhere else. 20% of the people do 80% of the work. Yeah. So once you invest yourself in building relationships, you begin to understand who the leaders are, who the innovators are, who are the disruptors. And I'm a curious person, and I've been fascinated to be in the room when products and technologies were invented that have changed the way we all get things done every day. When I see someone reading on a Kindle, I'm kind of pleased because I helped that organization to develop.
What brought you here?
I have a client here. They reached out to me a year and a half ago. I began discussions with them. We engaged on a couple of projects recently, and in order to better serve them, I decided to come and experience their business, meet their team, get a feel for the business culture and the environment so that I would be able to better represent them with Western candidates in executive positions.
Silicon Valley still represents something deep into people's hearts, but now that there's new hubs that are forming around the world, how do you see Kyiv with its IT sector that was primarily outsourcing for so long? How do you see it evolving?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. In fact, that's a lot of what I've been doing for the last several days is meeting with thought leaders and entrepreneurs who are building companies and financing companies here in Ukraine to better understand what the possibilities are and what the limitations are. I think, you're right. The world has decreased in size with the internet and better communication systems and lots more cross-cultural exchange. So there are opportunities for invention, innovation, disruption in various places around the world, but it takes some basic ingredients, I think. And Ukraine, I think, represents most of the most critical components to that sort of success. Great universities, a mindset and a value for math, science, and technology in terms of that education, a growing interest in investment in entrepreneurs here, and with the world changing as it has, access to markets.
What about the satellite offices, but being controlled out of Silicon Valley, but having a satellite presence in other countries, such as Montreal, I've seen is actually developing quite well. Israel is developing quite well. Is this now the new model in Silicon Valley for hiring to push more people rather than bring them to Silicon Valley?
It has been for quite some time. Most of my clients in the U.S. have some component of their engineering outsourced to another region in the world, an emerging part of the world. And Eastern Europe is recognized, branded as being a location to source fairly sophisticated engineering talent. Lots of math, algorithm, deep science strength here in terms of the reputation for the engineering community here on an outsourced basis. India is probably the most direct competitor, and India is perceived generally to be more higher level, applications level development. So depending upon the needs of the client, they would choose one region or the other, other secondary markets as well, but one of those two are primary.
Are we basically at the cusp or at the beginning of a different type of Silicon Valley that maybe in 20 years from now we'll be discussing? I remember when we were at UNIT making a speech when it was just starting to come onto the world called Ukraine. Is this the next Steve Jobs aha moment that is just starting and you're again part of history?
I would hope that's true. The folks I've met here are eager, smart, humble, warm, engaging, bold. And I think all of those attributes are the essential ingredients to success in this industry.
Neil, thanks a lot. It was fantastic. You know, it's great, the stories. I really like how you brought it all together. I'm sure everyone tonight is going to get a great insights and great questions. And hopefully it's not your first time in Kyiv, and we're going to be seeing you more and more.
I would love your return. It's been a great trip.
Absolutely. Good stuff.